Hello, I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Izzy, and we need help.
Each week we stumble through a new book, method, or concept that brings us one step closer to being our best self.
Yes, we make fun of ourselves.
And others.
But mostly just ourselves. So here's to not taking self-help quite so seriously.
Welcome to We Need Help. I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Izzy. And this month's topic is really exciting, hot and exciting, sex. And I'm really excited to introduce our first guest of the month, Diana Chioka. She's a sex and libido coach for women. So she's known as the Intimacy Queen on Instagram.
Welcome, Diana.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone.
Aw, what an interesting topic you've decided to give your life to.
Yeah, and I think you'll be even more surprised when you will know what I was trained to do. I was an engineer. I still am. I still have my day job, by the way, as I'm building my business. So I think it's a lot of people get really surprised when I say that I started my career as a chemical engineer. And now I'm doing this.
Well, it's like now you're engineering the chemistry of women.
Yeah, you're a chemistry engineer now.
Right.
In the more fun way, let's say that way.
Yeah.
That is so. How did you get into the chemistry engineering?
Well, I think I think most coaches who speak about a certain subject on that dedicate their life and their careers to teaching a certain subject, most of the time it starts with your journey, right? So my journey started, I was doing my master's degree in chemical engineering, and I had like this identity crisis, and I felt quite burnt out, and I started questioning, like, is this really what I want to do? And well, I also got out of a long relationship. It ended up quite messy, and I got into a new relationship, and then we started having really struggling to connect emotionally, but also sexually. I have also my history of sexual trauma, so that plays a role into this whole story as well. So I decided to go and get myself better. So it started there. Yeah.
How did you do that? Like, where did you go? Well, did you just Google like what was going on, and then how did you know where to go?
Like the rest of us do. Like, that's what I did.
Am I normal?
That Google search was definitely there at some point. Yeah, I didn't get very far with Google. Let's say that way. I mean, something that I'm passionate to speaking about, and something I experienced with my partner as well, was this mismatch in desire, that he wants more sex and I didn't. So there was a lot of friction there, right? So,
and not good friction.
Yeah,
not good friction.
Not the good time. And I went to Google that, and most places would say that's just, you're just not compatible. And I, that's, if you Google that right now, maybe now 6-7 years later, there will be more information out there, but that's the information I received. And that just adds to the anxiety of, oh, wow, I love this person I love this person a lot. And, it just feels so frustrating that we cannot be intimate together in that way. And well, I couldn't accept that for an answer. And I started digging deeper. So my first step was getting into a tantra class, right?
Ooh.
I think a lot of people do that. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm biased.
I've never done it.
What did that look like? Like I'm always you hear about it all the time, but I don't know anyone who's actually done it. So I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. Although I have to say, before I go into this, if you're a listener of this podcast and you want to improve your sexuality, I think that's not the first place you should start. Because
that's what I was just going to ask you. I'm like, that seems like step 10.
That is definitely step 20.
Yeah, I'm like, way to put the baby right in the boiling water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what it looks like when, of course, I am not I have a lot of experience with Tantra because I was in that world for a while, right? But if you get to the traditional meaning of Tantra is just, it's a philosophy of living through the body. It's a spiritual teaching coming from India.
Okay.
And that there's many schools of Tantra, but the main idea is that a lot of spiritual beliefs ignore the body, or you want to transcend the body, or, like the body is this thing that is holding you down from transcendence and from enlightenment. And in Tantra, we take the body with, and we actually transcend through the body. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful philosophy. I still believe in many of the things that
Yes.
I learned. And what also happens in the West is that it's highly sexualized, and you have a lot of people who have a lot of unprocessed wounding, and it can become very toxic if you haven't yet.
Am I in the West?
Yes.
Okay, am I the West?
You're the West.
Okay. I thought so, because it's weird because we've sexualized everyone. We've sexualized everyone, but we've also made sex really bad. So
Yep.
it's like a double smack. Like, which is, I'm sexualized, but now I'm a slut. I'm
Yeah.
sexualized, but now I get to go to hell for it.
Yes.
It's like,
So-
it doesn't sound fun. I mean, half of it sounds fun, but
Right. Like, I think that what's happening right now is that female sexuality is only acceptable if it makes someone else money, if it's for the male gaze. And that's about it, right? Or to reproduce, like make babies. But that's
and
right,
that's not
so-
even, I mean, they don't even acknowledge that really.
No. So that ties into a little bit into why so many women struggle with their sexuality. Maybe some women think, okay, I haven't even experienced sexual abuse or anything like that, and I still have a low desire, or I still have pain with intimacy, and I still never want to do it. And they're like, why? What's going on? And I'm like, well, we're swimming in the sea of judgment, shame, guilt around pleasure, and so many other things. So it's not it's not so surprising that so many.
Yeah,
And
so-
it also, doesn't it seem like, sorry, Izza, doesn't it seem like if you want sex, you're bad, and if you don't want sex, you're bad.
Yes. Yes.
We're, we're not in a win-win
Lose,
situation
lose.
at all.
Yeah,
That's
and I
exactly
had
what I
a
said.
like. There's a quote like, "A good negotiation is when both sides feel like they got fucked," and that's where it should be.
This is a great negotiation.
So you went to this tantra class, but it wasn't for you, or whatever happened there. It was just like beyond where you needed to be or something. Yeah, and then
Absolutely. Yeah. So what happened is that although I love the teachings and I know the people who are, I was also quite, careful about where I went. I went with a female teacher because a lot of times in Tantra, it happens a lot that some male leaders are abusive to the followers, and right, because people come there because they're kind of desperate.
They're vulnerable.
They want to get better. They are so vulnerable. And it's so easy to take advantage, to create a cult-like mindset. And so there's that. And with the teacher that I had, which she is amazing, right, in the things that she teaches, but she's not trauma aware or informed. You work with the nervous system of a person who might have suffered incredible abuse, and you need to take it slow. And in her approach, there was no slow.
No.
And in a lot of places where you go to learn Tantra so that you can expand into your sexuality, there's no notion of slowness. So that's the reason why I had to step back and do something else instead.
So what do you
And-
do? What do you do? What, like, at that point?
yeah, what did you do?
Yeah, what did you do?
Well, I decided that this work nevertheless was very important. And I have learned a lot through the Tantra workshops and the Tantra education that I had. And I thought, you know what? This is my life purpose. Like, there's so much trauma when it comes to sex. And trauma, I don't mean in a violent way only, but there's so much already, we're swimming in it, right? And I decided to take a coaching certification in sex, love, and relationships.
Okay.
And in this coaching certification, you could also work through your own. So the first 3 months of the certification, it was a very beautiful and a year-long certification. And the first 3 months were dedicated to your own process. And here's where I worked through a lot of the pieces that I was holding on to around my sexuality. But that wasn't over because there was still not enough. So I then, when you're in these circles, you hear about more modalities and you hear more and more about, what helps people. So I gotten into somatic experiencing. And that is a modality to heal trauma and working with your nervous system.
And how does that work? And is that what you currently do, or is that what?
What I do is I take the best from all the worlds and put it in a certain sequence that I know will help people, right? Because you cannot, like I said to you, I went the other way around. I went to this Tantra workshop, and that was from 0 to 100 pretty quickly.
I'm like, whoa, that was gutsy.
You were trying to walk before you could crawl. Yeah.
Indeed. I'm a manifesting generator. I don't know if you know human design. So we speed light through everything.
Yeah. I'm the same.
Sometimes we have to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as bad as I would have done the same thing. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm not feeling my sexuality. Tantra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Porn.
Porn. Let's make a porno.
Porn. Yeah, let's make a porno. Let's see if the whole country likes me or not.
Absolutely. I love that.
So can I ask, I hope I can ask you a personal question. I'm going to ask it anyway. Like,
Of course.
do you feel healed now in this area?
Well, it's of course a work in progress, and it's my career now, right? So I feel like when you're a model, you look beautiful for a living. So you're investing more in your appearance and your looks. And when you are a nutrition coach, you try to be healthy for a living. And it doesn't mean that we cannot all do that, but I am a sex coach, so expanding my sexuality is my job.
Oh my God. You've got to be like, people have got to be knocking down your door.
Well,
Are you still with that guy? Like, are you still with the girl? Or they, whoever.
Partner, yes.
Partner,
Yeah, I'm still with my partner. It's a he. He identifies as a man, male.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're still together. So that's the beautiful thing of working through your stuff.
Right.
So I did my work, he did his work, and we did work together, and we could beautifully bloom out of that.
Well, yeah, on your beautiful Instagram, by the way, I'm just like taken by it. It's so approachable and lovely. But on it says sex is not supposed to get boring.
Yes.
And I noticed that immediately. I was like, okay. And so I
not.
took it right over. I took it right over to my husband. I said, see,
It's not.
no, it's not.
I feel like totally. I mean, like, that's the narrative. Like, I don't know, maybe culturally it's different, but where I grew up in Romania, by the way, I'm originally from Romania. Yeah, neighbors.
Where in Romania? Sorry.
Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
It doesn't exist.
Just kidding.
Lizzie's like, are there birds there? Where are you from in Romania?
I'm from the mountains, so like kind of like center.
Okay.
In the center.
Because I took
it's a very small
a bike trip through Romania, 3 weeks. I was in Sibiu,
Wow.
Sibiel, like Brasov,
It's very
Braslav.
close.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's very close there. Yeah. But I moved here 11 years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah. So sex is not supposed to get boring. So I grew up thinking that and learning that, okay, sex is just like, you know, in your honeymoon phase, you're kind of like, you're interested in sex, you want to do that with your partner, and then you get married, and then life happens, and then
You don't
zero,
get sex
nada.
anymore.
Or when you do, it's just like a 15 minutes quickie just to get a job
on
done,
his
and that's
birthday,
it. And
yeah.
Did you say
Yeah.
15-minute quickie?
yeah. Well, yes.
That's a longie in our house. No, I'm just kidding.
Aw.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah. So that's kind of what you learn, and that's the. I love the lightness around the topic
Diana,
of
we
sex.
need you so badly.
Here I am. You can ask me anything.
Yeah.
Take advantage of me.
So the reason we're doing this topic is because of me.
It's her.
It's all my
She's the
fault.
problem.
I'm the problem. No, because I've been feeling like completely disconnected with sex and my own sensuality, sexuality. Like it's almost like gone. And I don't know what happened to it. And I just feel blah.
She's
you know?
looked everywhere. She's looked everywhere in the trunk.
And I'm
gone.
wondering, like, so clients come to you. I'm sure you have clients that have some similar things, right? Like I've lost my
Like
libido.
she's not the only like broken one on earth, right?
Well, first of all, you're not broken. Let's start there.
Thanks.
And yes, so many women have struggled with this. So I really hear you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And what do you do when, like, walk us through the process of how you work with clients? What's your process?
Yeah. So first of all, I dig into the problem, like ask them a bunch of questions. When did it start? Was it always that way? Right. So trying to get a clear understanding of, was it a sudden change? Was it something that happened over time? I go through history of, in a very trauma-informed way, by the way, I go through history, okay, did something happen at any point? And sometimes it doesn't pop in your mind because your mind, by the way, in order to protect you from pain that your body and mind didn't know how to hold in the past, might black out information. Right. So we experience it somatically through the body, and I have a process for that.
All right. Can I interrupt and ask you a question? I'm curious about this. Do you believe in generational trauma that gets carried over, like trauma that was not even mine? It could be my mother's or my grandmother's that has been carried over through to me. Okay. And I'm just.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I believe that. And it's not so strange, right? That we, first of all, biologically, I think that was the thing, that our mother's eggs get formed in her mother's womb. And so you were actually in the womb of your grandmother at some point, right? So on a cellular level, even, that's a thing. On an energetic level, that's a thing. And also from a behavioral point of view, you get your sex education from these women,
Or
right? Like,
lack of.
or lack thereof. And you see their behavior.
Thanks, Grandma. Thanks.
Right. The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Thanks for all the ugly sweaters and lack of sex education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You can keep your candy and you can keep your libido.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also, I get it. It sucks that this happens to us, right? And at the same time, there's also the compassion that they didn't know better either, right? So we somehow have access to more. Like now there's sex coaches on the internet.
Yeah,
like
they didn't
back
have
then,
that.
there were no sex coaches on the internet. Like Google didn't exist. So
They didn't have anything like this. Like they didn't have any help.
Yeah.
no, they didn't have any help.
At
And
all.
I also, that's not an excuse, right? Like I want to take a moment to validate your own pain.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't have resources doesn't mean your pain is less important. It's just a little bit of an awareness that it was just past generation down the line. And now you're the one who hopefully can break the chain,
Do you
right?
think, this is my question, like, I have had issues in my marriage, I talk about all the time on here, with sex, but 99% of the women I know have had issues with sex in their marriage. And like, does it typically, is it just sex is the problem, or does it mean you have other problems?
That's a very good question. It's usually one of the problems, and sex is such a interesting and complex system, right? Sex is not just in your pelvic floor. It's not just your pussy or whatever, right? It's your whole lifestyle. It's your whole trauma history. It's your environment. It's the ability to be attached to a partner, or the ability to be intimate emotionally with a partner, to let yourself be seen, how much you think you deserve pleasure or you're worthy of pleasure, and so on. So it's not just sex. It's never just sex.
Yeah. I heard somebody say once about the word intimacy, into me see, like allowing yourself to be seen, into me see, intimacy. I loved that so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you think about sex in a traditional way, which, by the way, I have a problem with that anyways, but if you think about it in the traditional way, you literally receive a human being in your body. So it's a very vulnerable act. If there's no trust, if there's no safety, if there's no communication, obviously your body will just
If there's
shut
no
down.
money, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
Occasion.
well, money
That'll be
too.
$500, sir.
Well,
I'm a cheap whore too, on top of it all. No, but it is like when you think about like allowing someone to come into your space.
Is that what you call her these days?
Honey, my space. But no, like even your energy field is like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you do the digging, and then once you find out what the issue is, then the work begins, right?
Yeah. So what usually happens is that it depends, right? Like, let's say my upcoming container is a 6-week to get people from having no desire to tuning into their turn on. It's like the first 2 weeks will be something like, okay, we somatically work on the first week. It depends also on the client, by the way. What are the blockages? Where are the blockages? What happened there? What is your mindset around sex? Like, if you think that sex is for the other person, then you're not going to want any sex, because what's in it for you, right? So that could be a mindset thing that you learn somewhere, that sex is for the partner or the man or whatever, right? And I hear over and over again from women that I'm just going to get it over with. So he gets his pleasure, and then like for 2 weeks, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's not the sex that is gonna get you wanting more of it. Yeah.
Have you ever met anyone who was just so blocked that you just couldn't break through? Like they just like,
she's asking for a friend.
Well, the idea is not to break through.
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the idea is not to break through. That happens a lot from all the exploration, right? That can happen. But the idea is to understand your body, understand what's happening, bring compassion to the parts of you that are blocked. And maybe you're in a season where you need to be more, right? Like, I believe sexuality is just like season. Sometimes you're in winter and you want to be inside, you just want to be with you, and you need to bring awareness to that, trust in your body that your sex drive will bloom and blossom and that's where I come in and teach all the tools on how to nurture that part of you, how to invite that part of you. But it could also be that your body just needs to focus on something else right now, and building the safety, the trust, and the acceptance and the self-love to allow your body to do its thing in this moment.
I like that. Like kind of like an acceptance rather than fighting all the time with yourself.
Yeah, you're never going to get anywhere from fighting your body. That's
Or
definitely-
forcing yourself to do it. It just like that is the most miserable thing.
Yeah.
No.
You know, it's like I can't even force myself to go to a dinner party I don't want to go to, let alone, you know, like it's just, it feels like a total, like, just abandonment of what is yours.
Exactly. And yeah, sorry, you were going to ask.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say that it's important with time to get curious about your body. And sometimes, like I'm just going to introduce a term of different type of arousal patterns. So sometimes lots of male population have a thing called spontaneous desire. So what that means is that they see a beautiful woman walking down the street, and for them that's enough to get them in the mood and like, okay, let's go.
Such
right?
simple creatures.
Well,
that is what it
that's
is.
how their body works, right? Like, so that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as they understand that maybe half or 70% of the world population is not working that way. Yet we, as women, we have been trained to compare, or the standard for our sexuality is that male sexuality, or like, okay, clap your fingers, now we're in the mood. And that doesn't happen for a lot of women. For a lot of women, they experience this thing called responsive desire. What that means is that you need a context for your desire to grow and develop and expand. So, and that, well, part of the journey is learning what your context is. What do you need for your turn on to blossom and to bloom, right? And how do you create that context? So I love your example from the party. Like, sometimes, I don't know, like maybe you've experienced this, like you were so tired, you had no mood, absolutely no mood to go to a party, but you went there and had a blast. Like, you had so much fun.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in sex as well. And there is a discernment here, which is really important. Am I putting myself in the context because I want to trick my body into wanting to have sex? Or can I discern between today is really a no, and I respect that, and okay, today it's a maybe, and I give myself the space to explore if it's gonna be a yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's just really about being able to ask yourself the question, what do I really, really want? And honoring that in each way, shape, or form. Even if it's just a maybe, like, okay, let's just see if it works.
Absolutely.
I know.
And then,
I know for like, we've had, my husband and I, we had serious problems with it. He went to counseling. We healed that part of our marriage, but like, I feel completely comfortable to be right in the middle of it and be like, this isn't working for me right now.
yeah.
Is that cool
that's
with
beautiful.
you? Because I'm just like not feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. And I think that what I would add to this is like, okay, sex is a no. So what am I a yes to? Like, when it's a no, it doesn't need to be over, because intimacy, you have so many options for intimacy building. And that's the investment that you, well, I have a commitment to my relationship to invest in it, right? And maybe today is not, I don't feel sex, and maybe we scheduled it, which is, by the way, really important if you want a good sex life.
Scheduling is important.
Yes, because if
Okay.
you don't schedule it, I see sex as like going to the gym.
Okay.
If you want to, if that's important to you for both partners, right? Like,
Yeah.
if sex is important, your intimacy is important, then you need to make time for it and prioritize it.
It's an atomic habit.
Yes, yes, indeed. So
I'm learning so much here.
Yeah, this is
I'm
so
glad.
so good.
Yeah, so schedule it. And I know there's this idea that, oh no, it should be spontaneous. It should have, but we are so busy. Our lives are so complex. And the things that you care about, you need to make specific dedicated time for them. Otherwise, they're not going to happen. Kids are always going to run around for whoever has kids. Work will always get more busy. Life in general will get only more complex. There's not going to miraculously be a time when your schedule is miraculously free. No, you have to make time for the things that you care about.
Well, and isn't there something like, and I don't know the science behind it, but I was listening to a podcast earlier today and they said, things like that are important to your health, like eating and sex and sleeping. And I was thinking there's some major health benefits to having sex, right?
Yeah.
What are they?
Well, it's not really my spin on sex, but I know, well, I love to look at it from the mental health point of view.
Yeah, that's even more
Of course, there's like your body produce hormones and oxytocin, which is so beautiful for bonding, right? Like serotonin and all kinds of chemicals that flood your body that are so healthy for your heart, for your whole body. But I look at it more from the mental health point of view, like what does it cost you to not have intimacy? It is well studied that human beings are social beings, right? And sex is one of the main way we bond with our primary partners. When you don't have that or any other type of intimacy, then that your mental health will suffer because your brain is wired to have intimacy. That's how it thrives.
Yeah, I went to like this constellation therapy. Bert Hellinger, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but I went with this issue that I was having because it's an issue that's come back. It was a while ago. I had a similar feeling, and he said lack of sex is equated with like death in the spiritual world. It's almost like choosing death because sex is life. So I was like, that just like freaked me out. I was like, what? So yeah.
It is, right? Like, I hear you. And it is, when you say sex, it's about sexual energy. And it's sexual energy. It's your creative force, what gives you radiance, what gives you energy throughout the day, what makes life pleasurable, and what makes you excited to get out in the morning is this, like energy that when maybe you had the experience waking up in the morning and feeling so energized and so happy to see the sky and see the grass and smell the things around you. Like, it's this excitement for life. And a way to use sexual energy is to engage in sex with your partner. That's one way to do it.
I love it. I love that.
Wow, so much to think. I'm gonna have to get in touch with you after the show. So, do you work do you work on Zoom online? Like, can people get in touch with you and work online with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the majority of my sessions are held online.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, and let's tell everyone how they can get a hold of her too, because I think this is a really big problem.
Yeah,
for everybody. So
the intimacy queen. So just like that, the intimacy queen on Instagram, I think is the best way to get in touch with you. Yeah, just send you a message via that.
And yeah, exactly. Just send me a message, and what usually happens is that we will chat back and forth a little bit. And if you are desiring, consent is very important to me, even when it comes to sales. So if you are desiring to explore further ways of working with me, then we would get on a Zoom call, half an hour. We just chat a little bit deeper to see if we vibe, if you feel safe with me, and see if I can help you, right? Like, I love to be in integrity with who can I help, and maybe sometimes it's a problem that is, if it's very intense trauma, then I would ask you to also be in therapy while working with me. So something like that. And yeah, we can explore all these different options. And there's never a pressure to get into my one-on-one.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Diana. That's really great. Any parting words for us? Like, anything that you want to have our listeners know about sex and relationships and libido?
There's so much to say about this topic. I mean, I love to talk about it. I think the first thing I want to tell people, there's a couple things. First of all, it's not a luxury. Your sex life, right? Like,
I love that.
That is beautiful.
it's not a luxury. You deserve to be a sexually alive, radiant, sensual woman. This is your birthright. It has been taken away from you because life happened, right? And you can reclaim that because it's your birthright. It's not a luxury.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Two is that you have gotten this idea about sex and what it should be. And I would love for you to explore within yourself what sex means to you. Because sex is not penetration. Like, that's like one thing on the million thing that you can do sexually and intimately with a partner. And you don't even need a partner to be a sexual being. So go out there, explore, look within yourself. And I'm sure there will be a lot of beauty coming out of it.
Oh,
That's it.
It's been an absolute pleasure for us to have you. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on here.
And I think you're just having you on here is going to help so many people, because I think a lot of women are are struggling right now. Like, everybody I talk to is having this some type of issue. So so thank you for coming in and sharing what you can do.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I love you.
Thanks for joining us this week on We Need Help, the podcast, the duct tape of self-help.
Please visit our website, weneedhelpthepodcast.com, where you can find links to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and all the others, so you'll never miss a show.
You'll also find links to the books we've reviewed and our amazing store.
If you enjoy this podcast, go right now, because if you're anything like us, you'll never do it later. Like and share our page and episodes on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or just tell a friend about the show. That would help us out too.
Also, feel free to let us know what you need help with, and we'll try to cover it in a future episode. You can also find us on Instagram at weneedhelp_the podcast.
Thank you for listening.